Good morning. For 4 News Now, I'm Rob King. Coming up next month, My Fair Lady, the timeless classic, is coming to the First Interstate Center for the Arts in Spokane. And to chat with me a little more about it is someone who knows a little bit more about it than me, the man playing Henry Higgins, Johnathan Grunert. Johnathan, thanks for hopping on. How are you?
I'm good. My pleasure.
So let's just start from the top. How's the tour been going so far?
Tour has been fantastic. We're in Chicago right now. We'll be opening tonight and coming to Spokane soon. We can't wait to be up there in the Pacific Northwest.
So how long have you been playing this character, and how long have you been touring with My Fair Lady?
I've done the tour for almost 2 years now. We started last September and we'll be going through the end of April now. It's been quite the journey. We've been all over the United States, and it's been really exciting to bring a show this classic, this exciting all over the country.
When you've been playing a character that long, almost 2 years, what changes in your performance of it, or what do you learn more about the character as time goes on?
You know, the audiences change a lot of the show. You really learn to lean into whatever regional humor is going on that week. Some people are going to respond to different jokes in a different way. And so you really have to listen to what's going on in the audience. You get a lot of energy from that. You get a lot of focus from that. And it's been exciting to bring a show this funny to different people to sort of play out who's going to laugh at what jokes. And I can't wait to see what audiences in Spokane enjoy about it.
Talking about the show and how an audience reacts to it, how do you take something that was written a long time ago and kind of either revamp it for a modern audience, or how do you guys find it relays if you do stay true to the original source?
You know, what's great is that you don't have to change a word of the show, but the audience has changed so much since the 1950s, the 1960s, when, of course, the movie came out with Rex Harrison and Audrey Hepburn. You know, a 2024 audience sees Higgins treat Eliza, you know, with kind of a little bit, he just misses her pretty often. He's a little brusque in the way that he treats her. And a contemporary audience sees that, and they side with Eliza. They see her strength, her courage, that, you know, she's not somebody just plucked off the curbstone, but she goes to this aristocratic gentleman's house and demands to be treated equally. And I think without changing a word, an audience nowadays sees that and gets really excited to see a woman with that kind of power, regardless of her class.
Well, that's interesting, and I think that gives a lot of credit to the audience of being able to take what would be what's in a lens of misogyny probably nowadays, and kind of see it that way and give strength to that. That's really interesting.
Right.
I also want to ask about you. Where are you from?
I'm from Texas and originally. I grew up in the Dallas area going to see theater at regional houses, national tours, just like My Fair Lady. What's great about being in the tour is I've been to several of the theaters that I grew up going to, seeing shows on the road and getting to be on those same stages, looking out and seeing people watching this show and creating those kinds of new memories the way that were created for me when I was a child.
Did you always have a love of theater? Was that something that was it instilled from you by your parents, or was it something that you sought out?
Oh, I definitely sought it out, but my parents were nice enough to take me to show after show and to sit me down and watch Turner Classic Movies with me when movies like My Fair Lady were on. I was always curled up watching these beautiful old MGM musicals and these Broadway shows, and to see one of them live on stage with these Tony Award-winning costumes and this gorgeous set, it really is wonderful to see something like that brought to life.
That sounds like my sister. She was a big fan of TCM. The transatlantic accent's always hard for me.
Oh, absolutely. I grew up in Texas, so I had a thick Texas accent growing up and had to learn just how to speak with kind of a regionless accent before learning the received pronunciation, proper British dialect like Eliza learns. So I've had kind of my own My Fair Lady journey going from small town Texas to a Broadway stage. You have to learn those same kinds of tongue twisters, like the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain, and use that same kind of focus.
Absolutely. How was that kind of dialect learning? Because the accents are so to an American audience it might just be British, but as part of the story of the play, they're different and there's different dialects. So how do you go about kind of learning that? What's that process like?
Oh, we had a dialect coach. We had our own Henry Higgins come in to give us our own tongue twisters to practice, to get into character, to get in all of these different dialects. Because we have a Cockney flower girl, we have a Scottish housekeeper, we have these upper class Transylvanian dignitaries who come to visit at one point. We have all of these different wonderful, hilarious dialects that people really had to take time to learn learn pretty much the same way that Eliza does. There's a line in Pygmalion, the play that My Fair Lady is based on, where Higgins says of Eliza, she speaks English the way you speak French, almost like a foreign language. And I have that same experience when I'm trying to go from a thick Texas twang to something more refined.
Do you do that thing when people go back home? Do you run into that regional accent, kind of picks back up a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Every time we have a break and go home to see my family, I come back and have to take a day or two to get back into a British dialect, which is very, very different.
Whenever people come to town, like these Broadway tours come here, I always like to ask, what city kind of surprised you that maybe you thought you weren't going to enjoy as much as you ended up doing so?
Oh gosh, we've been to so many wonderful cities along the road. We were just in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was great. It was a tiny little city with all of these wonderful restaurants and coffee shops, and getting to be surprised by these different cities is really one of the joys of being on tour.
I bet. You have a lot of different characters also that you've done besides Henry Higgins. Any that have really stood out in your work?
You know, there are some that sort of felt like I was practicing Henry Higgins before I got here. Some other characters that are sort of fast talking men, like I did Thoroughly Modern Millie. There's a character, Trevor Graydon, who has a really fast patter song at one point, and you have to do that same kind of very quick clipped speech to be understood, and to have that sort of baked into the character, into my own experience before getting to work on Higgins was really fun to sort of pick up these little bits and pieces of the character in my own history. You know, I think people see shows like this and they see a character like Higgins and they're like, oh, I know someone just like that who probably deserves to have the rug pulled out from under him, just like Eliza, one-ups Higgins again and again throughout the show. It's fun to see a character like this learn that he doesn't know everything that he thinks he does.
Well, Jonathan, is there anything else you want to add? I don't want to take up too much of your time. Thank you for hopping on with me.
Of course, it was so great talking to you. I hope audiences come. It's a wonderful classic, golden age Broadway musical. Bring the whole family. I hope you get to create the same kind of memories that I created when I went to go see shows on the road.
Absolutely. Jonathan, thank you so much.
My pleasure.